The following is a production of Salt and Light Radio in Boise, Idaho. Kick off your work boots and pull up a boulder. It's time for Man Cave, discussing the issues that affect Catholic men in today's culture. Grab your favorite beverage, pick out a comfy spot around the campfire, and enjoy today's conversation with our two favorite cavemen, Pat King and Brian Howe.
Okay, so the book is called From the
Outhouse to the White House, right?
Is there any stories in that book that you can tell us here now?
Sure. Chapter 4 says it's titled "Say No to Crack."
Are we talking the drug or the
No, we're talking
relation?
the plumbers. We're talking the plumbers.
The plumber's crack. This is a podcast, so they're watching it. They chose to watch it. So
let me explain that. We did a paradigm shift. That we did this all over our business. Our big mantra was think outside the toilet. Get beyond what people expect. People expect Bubba the plumber, who can barely even keep his shirt tucked in, right? He's sloppy, he's late, he didn't shave, he's got bad breath, he smells like a cigarette, right? We took that paradigm of what people expect of a plumber and we spun it 180 degrees. And our guys were in a white uniform, showed up on time, cleanly shaven, breath test before they left the office. We had our plumbers come in every morning so we could do a sniff test to them.
You made a dirty business a professional business.
Professional business, right. And say no to crack means clean up your act, do that paradigm shift with your business. And I don't care who you are or what your business is. People think of it one way. So we like that awe effect when when we knocked on the door and we arrived on time, guaranteed on time. We're standing on a red carpet with another one under our arm to use inside the home, with a couple of hand tools and a nice smile, with a truck parked over our left shoulder. That's professionalism.
So I've always believed this, but would you agree, especially when you're meeting a client for the first time, that having a positive attitude and a smile on your face does a lot to ward off those anticipations that, okay, he's just another plumber with plumber crack, right, with no respect. Right. He's just going to gouge me for all I'm worth.
Yeah.
And doesn't that just ease their mind? Here you come with a smile on your face and you're actually happy to be there.
Yeah,
we're happy to be of service.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I go up and meet with someone, it's not like, oh, woe is me, I'm here. Let's get this over with.
Yeah.
No, I come in and say, hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you. I'm, who referred me? How'd you find my name? And I try to let them know that I'm here to solve their problem.
Yeah.
My company name is Solutions Landscape.
Right.
And part of that came from the fact that I like to solve problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will be honest with people. If they say, well, what do you think? And I say, well, to be honest, your system is old and it probably needs a complete redo.
Yeah.
Or I can fix it. I can fix it and repair it. And I'm just putting Band-Aids on it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and tell them the truth, but I'm not out there to try just rip it all out and let's do it all over again.
Yeah.
I can fix most things and I can do it fast. And so I charge a fair hourly rate.
Yeah.
But I mean, your Janie, the lady you had me,
right? She
was like very happy.
Oh yes.
With me.
Oh, absolutely.
And knew, and I she hasn't complained once since I've been gone, has she? It works. I actually recommended an easier clock for her to operate.
Okay, good.
And put it in a way where she could easily get to it.
Yeah.
And I think when you go those extra miles, and I didn't gouge her for the parts. Right, I mean, I made a fair profit.
You were there to serve.
I was there to serve.
Right. And charge enough to keep you in business so you can put fuel in your vehicle and get to the next
I need
stop.
a lot of fuel in my vehicle. Right. But it wasn't also the fact that I knew her situation.
Yeah.
And I could have, if I had that mindset, really taken advantage of her because she needed me.
Yes.
She didn't have anyone to do it, so she needed me.
Yeah.
And she was in a position where I could have just done it and sent her a huge bill.
Yeah.
and gouged her.
Well, I referred you to her because I knew that you wouldn't take advantage of her.
Well, and I appreciate your confidence in me.
Right.
I really do. And that's also good for business relations.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, in some of the, you've talked to me about, you told us you counsel other businesses.
Right.
Have you seen businesses take your advice and not take your advice? And have you seen the difference?
Oh, without a question.
Well, okay.
You know, I've actually, there's two businesses I worked with that you would recognize. I don't want to give their names out, but they were also.
No, they're not paying us to sponsor.
They were also nominated and won Small Business of the Year because I spent some time with them.
Cool.
Right?
That's
so. You know, it's kind of like a trainer at the Kentucky Derby. Right, you got to get a good horse, but you got to get them trained up too.
Well, and you know that leads to another point, that part of my men's ministry is in this podcast, Man Cave. It's not just to talk about, you know, how men can be better men in their business life, or it's how they can be better men in the service end of it too.
Oh, without a question.
You know, if it's like, okay, you have a skill set, you not only know how to do business properly, but you also know the business.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you spend a lot of time training your own staff and others.
Oh, yeah.
How to do some basic repairs and stuff like that. And that's kind of, I write a column for a newspaper about gardening and landscaping.
Yeah.
And Eddie, who just bought a house, showed me a picture of a sprinkler, and I said, okay, well, you got to turn that the other way around to make it work right.
Yeah.
And make it easier for yourself. But I don't have any problem helping him, because of, he just, like I said, he just bought a house. He doesn't have, he's not loaded with money because it took a lot in this market to buy a house.
Oh yeah.
So I'm willing to give him free advice and help him figure it out himself.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my men's ministry, is to encourage, if you know how to do something and you're good at it, either give it away, help others to do the same thing, teach them how to do it, help other men working with men sharpens each other, builds confidence. If you're good at explaining the faith, teach.
Yeah.
Do things to help your parish, because we don't take all the material goods that we've earned on this, we don't take it with us. We don't load a U-Haul and it follows behind the hearse, and you get to enjoy it in the afterlife.
It's interesting you say that, because with this recent Father's Day, which was just a few days ago, each one of my 4 kids shared a story that meant something to them. And, you know, there's this adage, it says it's, you know, as I get older, I'm 66 now, and who knows?
You're old.
I know, who knows, right? You could, you're an intersection away from not being here.
In today's traffic around here, yeah, you're right.
But it's not so much what you leave for your children, it's what you leave in them.
Right.
Right? So I heard some wonderful stories from my kids about things that I've left in them. You know, one of them, my son, I have 1 son and 3 daughters, and I had no idea that this happened, because it didn't make an impact on me, but I had him, you know, make sure he takes the trash out. Well, take the trash out. The trash is in a container inside a box in the garage. You got to open up some doors and then take the trash out to the curb. I had already taken the trash can out to the curb, but he instead just opened up the doors and threw the bag inside where the trash can should have been, and he knew that. He was being a smart aleck, right? And it broke, and it went everywhere. Well, apparently he shared a story that I took him out to the garage, and we got things picked up, and there was probably some physical, like a big crack on the butt. But he took from that lesson, and he just shared it 3 days ago at Father's Day, is if you're going to do a job, do it right.
Do it right. The first time. It's easier the first time,
I didn't know that was the lesson I taught him. I hope my whole life has been about that, right? But he talked about that. So now in his own life, he's now 33 years old. If you're going to do a job, do the job right. Well, I don't know many more lessons to teach your kids that are particularly
that's
industrious,
a very basic,
industrious ones, entrepreneurial ones, people that can make a difference, people with a lot of gifts, people that can really do something with their lives. pay it forward.
Well, it's funny. I was just talking to a friend about this when I was out there mowing their lawn, and he had some things in the way. I had to wait for him to move so I can mow. And I was relating a story about how my oldest daughter is who she is now. She manages the Dutch Bros.
Oh.
And when she was in school, I'm trying to think what grade, 9th grade, I believe, she had an opportunity. We were going to a private Christian school, and she had an opportunity to go to Egypt, Cairo, Egypt, for a track meet.
Wow.
And my business was doing good. I mean, I could have easily have written a check for the whole thing and just made it, just done. I said, but if you want to go, you're going to have to earn your way. I said, you've got to earn at least half, a little more than, and some expenses that, if you want to spend money.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to earn all that and half your trip, and I'll help you with the rest.
Right.
And I was going to go with her because I was not letting her go, my daughter, go to Egypt without her dad watching over her.
Yeah.
Now, she didn't like that idea so much, but so the way she learned, and she's like only 14, I think, 13, 14. Yeah. And the only way she can earn any money was through like working concessions at the Idaho Center and sports parks where they let groups, younger people work in the concessions to earn some money. Yeah. And I told her, you have to work. And so I worked beside her. So whatever I earned, she got to keep. Nice. Because, I had to drive her there anyway, so I might as well stay. So we're working these concessions, and she really got good at working with the people and the customers.
Nice. Yeah.
And had that personality of that. And she earned more than almost her whole ticket between me and her working those concessions. She worked her butt off. Wow. She did not want to do it at first. Yeah. Okay. She did not like the idea. She didn't want to do it. But she's now a manager of a Dutch Bros where she's serving people, and she has that personality. Yeah. And I look back at it and said, I think if I'd given in to her not wanting to do that. Yeah. Because that wasn't her personality at the time. Yeah. But if I'd caved into it and said, okay, I'll just buy your ticket, and gave it, said, oh, you don't have to do it, you don't like it. Yeah. No, she had a goal, and she accomplished that goal. Yeah. But it also furthered her. Added confidence, and now she's in a business where she's dealing with people on a regular and loves it and is good at it. Yeah. And so, it's kind of, you sit back going, I did that. Well, I helped. And you know what? I puffed up my chest, and that's my daughter. I'm so proud of her. Yeah. And you don't have to always tell them how to do it. Yeah. If you just show them and give them the opportunity to do it and not let them back out. Mm-hmm. My policy was, if you start a sport or start something, you don't quit until it's done. Yeah. I don't care if you don't like it. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to finish the year because people are relying on you. Yeah. And I think that all my kids have that don't quit attitude. That's wonderful. And it's a good way to go. So what about some basic tips on plumbing? I mean, like what would something you would do that you find they could do themselves if they only knew how to do that?
It's very interesting. Well, first of all, I'm not really an expert in plumbing. I owned a plumbing company.
What? Never mind. Cut.
But I'm not. I'm actually not that mechanically inclined. Just asked my wife because the toilet still leaks. And she reminds me of it. Well, is that the toilet leaking here?
You're a cobbler. You don't have no shoes for your kids.
I think there's some basic things. First of all, it takes a deal of confidence, belief in yourself, right, that you can do it, and YouTube videos.
Yeah, you know what? I've learned a lot from YouTube videos. I have.
If you have how do I do this or that, Google it. You'll probably have someone that will show you how to do that.
But I mean, come on, you would there be a tool that you would think they would need that kind of end all be all, or is there a couple tools? What would you recommend they should have some basic stuff so that they can tackle some things?
Yeah, just basic. You probably don't even need a pipe wrench. You could get certainly a good pair of channel lock pliers, different sizes, a 4-in-1 screwdriver, which has got 2 straight slots, 2 Phillips head slots, good flashlight.
We use a flashlight at my house quite a bit.
Needle nose pliers, stuff like that. But, pretty basic stuff. Plumbing's pretty basic.
And you can rent most of the tools out there anymore for plumbing.
Rent them or buy them. You
Yeah.
go to one of the big box stores. It's just amazing what these, the corner hardware store is gone, right? It's these big box
Yeah.
stores, and they are a professional organization. They're run by Wall Street. They know their numbers, but things like toilet repairs, flushing a water heater is good to do. Water heater is going to last you 8 to 12 years. So
in general,
So what we ended up doing at A1 Plumbing, we'd get rid of the valve that comes with the water heater.
Yeah, I remember you actually talking about
Right.
with this Joe Prin. You talked
Right,
about
right.
how to make that water heater last better because
Yeah.
water heaters are notorious for getting sediment in the bottom.
Sediment in the bottom, and then the manufacturer gives you this drain that's got about an 1/8 inch opening that you can't open and drain. So we would,
And if anything's bigger than the water, it's not coming out.
yeah. So what we would do, even a brand new water heater, we called it our special flushing system. We would put a full port ball valve, like something like that, where
Okay.
you can see, and really do a good flush. So that's what I recommend.
And what would you do? So you put a ball valve on. You would
Right.
do
with a hose fitting,
with a
then
hose.
just
Oh, okay,
run,
hose end through
and
the-
run the hose out to the curb. Don't
Okay.
put it on the lawn because it'll scorch your lawn.
Yeah.
But that's an important thing that can be done. Flushing a water heater,
You would would you turn the power or the gas off before you
gas or
Yeah.
power off.
and just open the valve out
Yep.
and just let it run.
Yep. What's really it's amazing if you a leaky toilet or leaky faucet. It's amazing if you put a cup underneath the faucet that drips, you'd be surprised how much water that is.
Okay.
It's like anything. If you measure it, you'll
What's usually
see
the
it.
cause of a leaky faucet?
usually a rubber washer or something like that, or
In the stem of
the stem or the seat, or a washer comes up against a brass seat. Usually that brass is soft. Sometimes that seat will get worn out and stuff like that.
Well,
So
okay, so I have my own well.
Yeah.
And I have sand. It's where I live is in Sand Hollow area.
Yeah.
And the water. So Sand Hollow, it's true to its name. It's full of sand. It's a good filter for the water, for the groundwater to get back into my table, for the
Yeah.
surface water to get into my table. But every time that pump kicks on, especially
Yeah.
if it runs for any length of time,
Yeah.
it tends to pull sand into it.
Okay.
Now, I didn't have a sand filter on it, and I was constantly getting those little aerators on faucets plugged up in the shower
Yeah.
heads and stuff like that. I did recently, about 2 years ago, put a water softener in
Okay.
that had a sand filter
Oh,
in it.
okay,
And every time it flushed that area
Okay,
out. So
yeah.
that made a big difference.
I bet
But
it did.
so there's two things I noticed between the sand and grit that's in water naturally. Even if you're on city water, you still
Right.
get a little bit of that
A little bit.
rust flake off or whatever. The other thing is water hardness.
Yes.
The hard water also ruins the rubber seats and gaskets.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think it would, but it
Yeah,
does.
yeah, and it clogs the pipes up too.
Yeah.
It starts calcifying up and starts shutting their pipes down. So hard waters, can be pretty nasty. And there's certain areas, like a lot of people say, do I need a water softener? The first question is, give me your two major cross streets, because I know the Treasure Valley well enough to say, yeah, you've got some.
Or you could just name one city, Meridian.
Yeah, Meridian, exactly. So, for some reason, the wells they're drilling off of are really hard water.
So is there can they just run down to the hardware store and get a test kit for hardness? And
Yes,
see
they
where
can.
they're at?
Yeah.
And then once they've read it, they've got a certain hardness. You would recommend a water softener.
I recommend a water softener. And, they're not always, a house has to be plumbed in for a water softener. So that's not always an easy thing. Because you want to separate your two outside hose bibs, your front and your back hose bibs want to be hard. They don't want to be soft.
Right.
And usually your drinking water on your kitchen sink, you want to have that cold side on your kitchen faucet usually will be hard as well.
Well, that's like replumbing your whole house.
Not really.
Oh.
But it is something. And there's companies in town that just specialize in water softening. Culligan's one of them. Connecticut is another one. There's several people that specialize in soft water.
And they would make sure
That's
that
all they do.
the right things were.
Oh yes, yeah. So hard water can be very destructive to the insides of the pipes.
Well, I can tell you that where I live, I used to go through a shower head about every year.
Yeah.
And I think my water softener's been in now 3 years.
Okay.
And I've still got the same shower head. Now, I still see a little bit of that water hardness get on there.
Yeah.
But, it's been over 3 years,
Yeah.
and you're going to get some of that
Yeah.
on a shower head. Yeah. But I've not had nearly the problems that I had because I was constantly shaking those aerators out.
Getting all that grit out of
Getting
there.
all that grit out. And
sand and hard water.
Sand and hard water. Yeah. And then the faucets, sometimes you just can't close them all the way.
Yeah.
And just drip. And I'm on a well.
Yeah.
I'm not paying metered water, but still,
Power.
you're
220 volts is running that pump probably.
Right. And so once that pressure tank bleeds off enough, it's going to fire back up.
Right.
To do what? To just keep dripping.
Right.
So yeah, but those are basic things that you can do that will save you a ton of money. Because what's a plumber's rate today?
Not enough. They're not charging enough. You're going to spend. You know what? We just dropped off our RV to get fixed. And it was $150 an hour to have my RV minor stuff done. So plumbers are $150-$200 an hour.
So what? Now I'm a businessman, and I know it's a basic, simple question. I charge $65 an hour to do sprinkler repairs. Okay. Now. You explain to me why a rate has to be that high for an employee.
What do you mean?
For the hourly rate. Why you have to charge, typically that employee is probably only making $15 to $25 an hour.
Right.
So why are you charging $150 an hour?
Usually you want to charge 3 to 4 times what you're paying that employee. Because it's not just $15 an hour, it's their benefits on top of that, medical insurance, all the benefits, paid holidays,
unemployment tax, and
all goes into the cost of that widget, right? So the rule of thumb is whatever you're paying your people, you want to be at least 3 to 4 times more than that.
But what other costs come out of that $150 an hour rate?
Well, Hillcrest Country Club. Right.
Okay, we're not supposed to tell them the profit.
Oh, sorry about that.
Cost of operating.
Well, not
the truck you send out
there. Everything, rent, or if you're a landlord, or fuel costs, every cost has got to come out of that product you're providing. And one of the biggest things why people go out of business is they don't understand what it costs to be in business.
They aren't charging enough.
They're not charging enough, right? And they run out of money.
And that's why when you and I don't want to get too political, but that's why when you hear the phrase corporations don't pay enough in taxes, we're going to tax the corporations. Those corporations, what do they do with that tax?
Pass it on to the customer.
They just increase their rates.
Right.
And because it's a cost of operating a business, I can tell you that I've had to raise so I used to be at $55 an hour more to do sprinkler repairs. I've had to raise it up to $65, and if the price of gas keeps going up, I'm going to have to go to $75. Yeah. Because if I drive from my house to their house, I've got a half an hour to 45 minutes on the road.
Yeah.
My truck only gets about 10 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
So if they're 35 miles away, that is already, I've spent $25 just to get to their house.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I haven't even charged them an hourly rate yet. So out of that 1 or 2, 3 hours I'm going to work on their house, I have to cover that $25 to $30 worth of fuel alone, not the wear and tear. I'm close to needing new tires. I have to pay taxes on all that income. Yeah. So I'm covering all my expenses. You're the one paying for it. And I don't think people understand that enough because they work at a job or something and they get an hourly rate.
Yeah.
And they don't know what the employer pays. And I think maybe we can have you come back and talk about economics.
Yeah. Well, it's really important to know what your costs are in a business, right? And put it all together, and then it's a simple divided by this, right? So when you put a water heater in, it's not just the cost of the water heater or the person to put it in, but it's my building rent, my advertising that got you to pick up the phone and call me, retirement for my employees, my kids going to school, right? All of us. So it all goes into.
Did you have a 24-hour service?
Oh, 24-hour service.
So,
absolutely.
You had someone on call that you probably had to pay.
We paid them to be on call. We paid them to sacrifice their weekend. What's really interesting is, and this is part of the book, is when, so who wants to work? We did work when no one wanted to.
Right.
So who wants to work on a weekend?
Or 4th of July week
Most of the
holiday.
plumbers don't want to. That's when they want to go have some fun, right?
Right.
Well, we spun that and said, okay, we'll make sure those are work days. And, well, when do people use their plumbing? When they're home.
When they're home.
When are they home? On weekends.
Or they got a lot of family over for a
On
family
weekends,
gathering,
right?
Thanksgiving, Christmas.
That's when it's the heaviest. You're taking
Right.
showers, you're taking this, that's when you're heaviest. That's when things break. So we made sure we were available at no extra charge on weekends.
Wow.
And I can't tell you how many lifelong customers we picked up by showing up on a Sunday.
Yeah. And
serving them.
Even though you're Catholic, you understand the idea that service is still something you're doing for the needs of others.
Well, yeah, and we didn't do it for the profit. We did it to serve our customers.
Right.
And we built a reputation of when your plumbing doesn't work, we do.
Yeah.
You like that?
I love it. I won't tell him I should tell him what your other one was.
That's fine.
So Dan's last name is Long, Dan Long.
Yeah.
And he had an advertisement on the radio that the moniker was "We Leaks Long."
No, it was.
Oh, you tell him.
So my nickname is Leaks Long.
Leaks Long.
So it was A1 Plumbing, the best place in town to take a leak.
Take a leak.
No, that was our big deal.
Okay, well,
Every time I see,
I knew he'd tell it better.
Every time I see Mark Johnson from formerly Channel 7, leaks, best place in town to take a leak. He just loves that, and that's even today. If I see Mark, he always says that.
Well, I got to tell you though, because I'm a service-oriented guy, and I've been in the service for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
I have never advertised.
Oh.
I don't even have business cards.
Yeah.
I would be the worst. You would counsel me and say, you got to get some cards, man. You got to get signs on your truck. Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 40 years. You don't even have signs on your truck. And it's because of guys like you and my customers that refer me.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I stay really busy. Now, I don't have any employees anymore because I really I couldn't handle the mentality of workers today.
Yeah.
They don't have that same servant heart, that same service mentality. And I didn't want to take the time to teach them.
Yeah.
And maybe that's wrong of me to not be willing to do that. Yeah. But it was also the paperwork and the employee wages, the government taxes and all that stuff. It just became it's almost like they're anti-business. Yeah. It made it very difficult. But I've been making a great living for 30 years, raised a family, put them through private Christian school through basically word of mouth.
Yeah, good.
And doing quality work. I wanted my work to be the postcard, the business card.
Yeah. Well, there's a book out. It's called The Ultimate Question, and it's really about customer surveys and what's the best customer survey and all that. Basically what this book talks about is the ultimate question that you want to ask when you're done with a job is, would you recommend me to your family and friends? Period. Not any. Would you recommend me to the people that you're closest to? And if you can get a yes out of that, you've got a great business.
Yeah.
Going.
I used to
that's probably what a lot of your customers are, because I refer you to family and friends, like this widow that her husband died in this pastor, right? She was devastated.
Yeah.
And I went by, her sprinklers weren't working. I said, I'll put you in contact with someone, and you just have to have that.
Well, and and not to boast about myself, but not only did she have sprinkler issues, she had some lawn issues.
Okay.
Wasn't looking good. And so I said, do you mind if I give you some more advice? I said, you could do this and, do this to clean up your lawn and things like that, and what type of fertilizer she should use. She used a high nitrogen. And I said, that's good for rapid growth, but it really doesn't do anything to nurture the soil and the roots and stuff like that. So I kind of just gave her some basic information, and I asked her if I could, but she said, that because my husband did all that.
Yeah.
And I hear that a lot. And and husbands, your wives may not want to hear it, but you may want to teach your wife a few things, because if you never know when you're not going to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but Dan, I do know that Dan is a very joyful person, and he's the Energizer Bunny. We had a gala, we had a fundraising gala for the station, Salt and Light radio station, and I ran into you like 4 times, but it was like, oh, I got to go talk to someone else. It was like, thanks for, I'm not important enough to talk to me for any length of time.
No.
I did corner you though. That's how I got you here.
Yeah.
But you were, everybody.
I do.
I mean, and you're, and someone walked by, I got to talk to them. It's like, squirrel.
You know what? Strangers are just people I haven't met yet.
I actually say the same thing.
Right? So I find great joy. I find great light. In people, I get energy from being around people. Some people don't.
So does Lori do what my wife used to do when you were in a grocery store or something? You just start engaging with people, talking, going, oh, we're never going to get out of here.
Oh,
again.
without a question. She's actually pretty energetic, pretty outgoing as well. But
I'd rather talk to her,
Well,
she's really nice.
It doesn't take very long to figure out the brains of the outfit, I can tell you that. Anyway, it's been a wonderful blessing. Being a resolute good finder, right? And that takes a change of vision. Even what's going on in our country today, I think we're at a tipping point. I think we're at a tipping point. We have did you ever think in your life that we would have a Roe v. Wade changed? Did you ever think that would happen? It's like, wow.
No, I never did. I thought it was here to stay. And did you hear the Supreme Court opinion that came out yesterday in favor of religious education?
Yes, I did.
That vouchers could be used.
I'm telling you, we're on a tipping point.
Yeah.
We've gone so far, it's going to tip.
Well, and again, that comes down to all things in time, in God's time, not our time.
Right.
So I think he's brought the point to where we've got this huge roller coaster. We've reached the top of the pinnacle of the roller coaster, and now we're starting to come down. And I hope it doesn't come down in a crashing bad way, but in a way that's beneficial for really the innocence of all this world has to offer.
Well, one of the initiatives, and maybe what we can talk about at another time, is I'm part of this group called Braver Angels, and it's going to take some braver angels to call upon the better angels of our nature to get past the partisanship, the polarization in our country. So I'm really making a big effort with Rotary, with different church groups, to try to get people talking, right? We basically all really want the same thing. It's how to get there.
Well, and talking about leadership, you just did this walk.
Yes.
Explain that walk. I don't remember the name. What was it called?
The Good Friday Crosswalk.
Good Friday Crosswalk.
Right. So we walked from the second year in a row now. We walked from the Boise Train Depot down Capitol Boulevard through Boise State University, up Broadway to Warm Springs, and up to the top of the mountain.
And
with carried a cross.
Is this a big cross?
A big cross, yeah, about 12 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
And then we drew straws who was going to get crucified.
Obviously, you didn't win.
No, I didn't win.
Or didn't lose, or whatever.
We skipped the crucifixion part, but it was neat. And the nice thing is,
how long is that walk?
It's about 2 hours.
2 hours? How many miles?
6 miles.
And it's not downhill, it's uphill.
Well, downhill from the train station, but then uphill. And the nice thing is, about a third of them were Catholic. The rest were Christians, and some people weren't anything. They just joined in. It was kind of cool. And I'm hoping that can grow into hundreds, if not thousands, by the time.
And you're going to do this annually?
Oh, yeah.
And I hear you had a lot of honks and cheers of support.
Man, right on, man. Yeah, right. Sometimes you just got to be bold and just do it.
Well, our Knights of Columbus from Our Lady of the Valley Council 3086 tends to lead the March for Life. I don't know how we got nominated, but we tend to lead that every January. And so our banner's one of the fronts out there, and we're leading the pack.
Good.
And we do get a few of those FU bombs and this, and save the woman, abort the child, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we get far more cheers and support of way to go, keep it going.
Good.
The police officers love us because we might, when they tell us to scoot over, we do it. We don't fight with them, and they're always willing to be on that road trip with us.
Yeah.
And so but I like being out in the front, leading that pack, showing a man support of men have been relegated to
Well, they've
wimps,
and they've allowed themselves.
and they've allowed themselves to. They haven't manned up.
I've been very, very fortunate to marry a wonderful lady, and she greatly respects me.
She does. She does.
And been married 41 years now. So
That's awesome.
Right.
Well, so, Dan, I appreciate you coming in on your very busy golf schedule.
yes,
I know you have. Don't you have a golf date here in
I do.
about 2 minutes?
I do.
I was trying to push it. Tori was actually going to be late, but I think we don't want to wear him out.
I'm playing with my son and
that's
some
awesome.
other folks. And
Yeah. So you got your priorities, but thanks for coming in. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
You bet.
And the name of your book is
From the Outhouse to the White House.
How big is the book?
And the subtitle is Flushing Out Big Ideas for Small Business.
Okay. Now, where could they find this book?
It's not out yet. It's
What?
It's going to be out.
We got
soon.
this huge buildup, and now you can't even get it.
It's. You want to demand.
Do I
want
get?
people.
You don't even have a
you're
book. I don't even get a book,
It's in the publisher's hand right now.
and they run out of paper. The supply chain probably don't have.
Well,
are
we're
they using toilet paper?
You got it. Charmin.
Charmin, because it's more writable.
Yeah, thicker.
It'll hold. It's thicker. Hold all that
Anyway,
stuff you talk about.
I think we should probably end this.
When
quick.
will that book be available?
I would say the Christmas time.
Christmas
what-
time,
is
and
what the
how will
publisher
they be
says.
able to find it?
We'll probably do it on Amazon.
And on Amazon,
Yeah.
hardback. Will they hardback? Will they or softback?
And it'll be mostly a scratch and sniff.
So
okay. You
will
didn't-
there
sorry.
be?
Sorry, I know.
Are you going to narrate it? Are you going to do this audio book?
You know what's really funny is the chapters are very short, but at the end, it has you ponder 3 or 4 questions of what I just talked about. Of course, it's got a guy sitting on a toilet thinking.
Did they give you leave some extra Charmin in the back to make notes
Yes,
on?
yeah, for extra notes. So the scratch and sniff part is, I think, it's going to be very interesting.
Well, as you
It'll be
can-
very unique.
As you can tell, we have a pretty good relationship. It's jovial, it's joking, it's a lot of fun.
But it's dead serious.
It's dead serious. He's a really good guy, trust me. But he's a guy that, you have to ask him his faith to tell you, but he does live his faith,
Right.
and he lives it in his everyday life. It not just his personal life or going to church on Sunday, but I don't think I've ever seen him in a time where he's not Catholic. He's not a Catholic gentleman. He's not a man of service, of how can I help you type mentality. And Dan, I appreciate you coming in and talking
Absolutely. You
to
bet.
the Man Cave Show.
Thank you,
And
Pat.
I hope you subscribe and listen to your own podcast.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it.
And so we'll end in prayer with the St. Michael prayers we usually do. And Brian, we missed you, but 3 big guys in the room
Yeah.
would have been. I don't think the camera was big.
Well,
enough.
he would dwarf us.
He would dwarf. Yes, that's true. So thank you all. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll have more Man Cave later. Thanks.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Man Cave, a weekly podcast discussing the issues that affect Catholic men in today's culture. A production of Salt and Light Radio in Boise, Idaho. To learn more about our ministry, please visit our website, saltandlightradio.com.